Welcome back to our channel. Today we are exploring the most dangerous gangs in the world. These groups are responsible for recruiting hundreds of thousands of innocent bystanders into a life of crime. Stay tuned to find out their techniques and how you can avoid them. Among the most feared white gangs globally stands the Aryan Brotherhood, with an astounding membership of 20,000 both inside and outside prison walls. Renowned for its severe discrimination and unrelenting brutality, this gang found its roots in the late 1960s at San Quentin State Prison. Originally formed as a reactionary force against the rise of Afro-American gangs, like the Black Guerrilla Family, it has since grown into a dominant criminal force. Remarkably, the Aryan Brotherhood is implicated in about 20% of all prison homicides, a staggering figure considering they make up less than 1% of the prison demographic. Their criminal endeavors are diverse and nefarious, spanning drug trafficking, extortion, illicit inmate prostitution rings, and even involvement in the grim business of murder for hire. Gaining entry into this gang is a perilous path, steeped in a brutal test of loyalty. Prospective members are required to commit an act of murder against an inmate from a different racial background. This chilling rite of passage underlines their ruthless ethos: blood in and blood out. In the twisted world of the Aryan Brotherhood, allegiance is forever and death is the only escape. Nuestra Familia. Nuestra Familia stands as the sworn enemy of the Mexican Mafia. This gang was born in 1968 in the prisons of Northern California, specifically by inmates from Fresno who had enough of the Mexican Mafia's harsh ways. Most of Nuestra Familia's members came from the countryside, which made them look less important in the eyes of the Mexican Mafia, who were mainly city folks from Los Angeles. This difference in backgrounds sparked intense and violent conflicts between the two gangs. Nuestra Familia's main activities: they're heavily into dealing drugs, cocaine, heroin, marijuana, and methamphetamine, kind of like what you see in the TV show Breaking Bad. What sets them apart from other Mexican gangs is that they're open to members who aren't Latin, and everyone who joins has to make a serious commitment. For them, the gang comes before everything else: money, drugs, even family. The Black Guerrilla Family. The Black Guerrilla Family stands out from other gangs because it wasn't just about protecting Afro-American inmates at San Quentin Prison. Instead, their formation was driven by Afro-American Marxist beliefs. Created in 1966 by George Jackson, George Lewis, and W.L. Nolan, this group started as a movement for black people. Their goal was big: to wipe out racism in American prisons and even to challenge the U.S. government, much like the Black Panthers were doing at that time. However, things changed quickly. The Black Guerrilla Family shifted gears, moving into more criminal activities, and they've now become one of the top Afro-American gangs within the prison system. They're mainly involved in drug trafficking and extortion, typical of many organized crime groups. Back in the day, joining this gang was pretty extreme. New members had to attack white inmates to prove themselves, but that's not so much the case anymore. These days, it's more about being Afro-American and really believing in what the gang stands for: the Mexican Mafia. Contrary to what its name might suggest, the Mexican Mafia's roots aren't from the country of tacos and sombreros, but are deeply entrenched in the American soil. This group stands as the reigning powerhouse within the California prison system, boasting nearly 400 core members and an additional 900 associates eager to earn their place in the ranks. Its inception dates back to 1957, born out of the necessity for Hispanic gangsters from various Los Angeles neighborhoods to band together for protection against rival factions. As the Mexican Mafia expanded, so did the scale of their operations and their notoriety, marking them as one of the most formidable and respected gangs of the early 1960s. Unique in its structure, the gang doesn't have a single leader. Instead, authority is distributed among several members, some of whom wield the power to sanction killings. Joining their ranks is a harrowing process, reserved for those of Hispanic origin willing to divulge their family background and criminal history. The initiation tests are severe, involving tasks like murder or theft, The stakes are high, and failure often carries the ultimate price. This is a path of no return, where the choice to join is irrevocable, and the consequences of failure are fatal. The 14K Triad. Over in the distant and vibrant city of Hong Kong, there's a name that's become synonymous with mystery and violence, the 14K Triad. This group has made Hong Kong a key player in distributing heroin and opium across Asia. The roots of the 14K Triad stretch back to 1949, right after the Chinese Civil War. It was founded by Lieutenant General Katsu Wang from the Kuomintang, the Chinese Republican Party, originally as a group fighting against communism before China embraced the ideology. What sets the 14K Triad apart is its aggressive nature and its unique structure. It doesn't have a single leader commanding all operations outside of Hong Kong. By the time the 1990s rolled around, it had grown into the most powerful triad globally, extending its influence into Chinese communities in various Western countries. Today, the 14K Triad boasts around 25,000 members and holds a significant stake in the narcotics market, particularly in Hong Kong. The Bamboo Union. Despite its seemingly innocuous name that might remind you of a quaint Chinese floral shop, the Bamboo Union is far from benign. It's one of Taiwan's most formidable criminal organizations, boasting an impressive roster of about 10,000 members. While they might view themselves as businessmen, their operations are steeped in the underworld of organized crime, encompassing drug trafficking, extortion, and even intimidating journalists who dare to dig too deep into their activities. The Bamboo Union's origins trace back to the 1950s in mainland China, but it wasn't until they moved to Taiwan that they really began to thrive, much like their namesake plant. By the 1980s, they had extended their reach beyond Taiwan, particularly into the Chinese communities in California and the bustling casinos of Las Vegas. This expansion wasn't just in their criminal activities, like heroin distribution, but also in gaining significant clout in local politics. This gang operates without a rigid hierarchy. Instead, each section is managed by a big brother. For those joining the ranks, adhering to their rules is critical. The consequences for not doing so can be as severe as losing a finger. The Crips. Notice the blue colors on their outfits? This isn't just a style statement. It's the signature of the Crips, recognized as one of the most dangerous and widespread gangs in the United States. They boast a membership of roughly 35,000. Originating from the Compton area in Los Angeles, the Crips are predominantly Afro-American, but their ranks also include white and Asian members. Their rise to power was fueled by the crack cocaine epidemic in the 1980s, which brought them substantial profits from drug sales in major urban areas. With this expansion came an increase in violent activities. By the 1990s, the Crips had become notorious in Los Angeles for their involvement in theft, murder, and other serious crimes. Their intense feud with the Bloods, another major gang, escalated to such a level that it captured the public's imagination, inspiring popular movies like Boys and the Hood and video games like Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, cementing their place in American pop culture lore. The Bloods. Facing off against the Crips is their arch-rival, the Bloods. You can spot their members easily by their red attire, worn as a symbol of identity and pride. The Bloods came into existence in 1972 in Los Angeles, California, mainly as a counter to the rising power of the Crips. When the crack epidemic hit urban America, the Bloods, just like their rivals, dove into the lucrative business of drug distribution and sales. This venture led to violent clashes with the Crips, so intense that their stories have been depicted in movies. For those looking to join the Bloods, the path isn't easy. Gaining the leader's respect requires building a reputation for violence. Many of their new members are young Afro-Americans, often recruited straight from high schools, reflecting the deep-rooted issues and allure of gang life for the youth in these communities. The First Capital Command. Let's head over to sunny Brazil and talk about a major gang known as the First Capital Command, or PCC, by its Portuguese acronym. They prefer to call themselves a movement rather than just a gang. Starting in the 1990s inside the prison system of Sao Paulo, the PCC didn't just stay behind bars, it spread out into the favelas and has grown to be the biggest criminal organization in Brazil, boasting a massive membership of nearly 20,000 people. From the get-go, the PCC aimed to dominate the jails of Sao Paulo. Now they've got a presence in a whopping 90% of them and have extended their reach to 22 of Brazil's 27 states, not to mention neighboring areas in Paraguay, Bolivia, Argentina, and Colombia. Their main sources of income, dealing drugs like cocaine and marijuana, and pulling off bank robberies, raking in around $40 million a year. But joining the PCC isn't easy. In 2001, it came out that members have to pay up $16 a month if they're in prison, and a hefty $320 if they're on the outside. It's like an exclusive club. You can't just walk in. You need to be recommended by a current member and find 3 people inside the gang to vouch for you. MS-13. It's no surprise that the top spot goes to Mara Salvatrucha, commonly known as MS-13. Regarded as the most dangerous and largest gang globally, it commands a staggering force of nearly 50,000 members. While MS-13 is closely associated with Central America, its roots are actually in Los Angeles, California, dating back to the 1980s and 90s. Initially, it was formed to protect Central American immigrants, but it rapidly evolved into a criminal behemoth, involved in a wide array of illegal activities including drug trafficking, contract killings, theft, kidnapping, arms dealing, and facilitating illegal immigration. MS-13's reign of terror is predominantly felt in Central American nations like Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. In these regions, their influence is so profound that in some areas they wield more power than the local governments. For instance, in El Salvador, the gang has control over a whopping 94% of the 262 municipalities. Joining MS-13 is a harrowing process. Potential members either have to commit a violent act against a rival gang member or endure a brutal 13-second beating. Once you're in, the gang becomes your new family, in a bond that's maintained until death. Getting involved with these groups is a high-risk, potentially life-threatening decision. Yet, we still see countless young people heading down this route. What do you think is driving them towards such choices? Share your insights in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more engaging discussions on this channel.